Look, I'm the crazy ghost. Ooh, wow, wow.
Hello, it's Sarah. I'm back, and today I have with me.
Marius from the Just Marius podcast and video show. Hello.
Okay, I didn't know what to do the next this video about, but I read this book that's very interesting, and I thought we could discuss it. And it's called Lazy, Crazy, and Disgusting, and it's all about the use of stigma in public health campaigns and how this has backfired many times. Okay, weight stigma is really a big one. And I think that a lot of people believe that basically the stigma against obesity is helpful and is important in curbing obesity, but actually it's the opposite. And people who are more stigmatized for their weight have a more difficult time losing weight. And when I looked into this like years ago, and I was just shocked at the amount of research that shows this again and again and again, and yet the stigma remains really high, and you almost can't get people to believe you if you try and explain like actually bullying fat people is bad. And
Yeah, I know. I mean,
it's
like,
very
there's a certain
frustrating.
type of person that just wants to do that, right? Like, it's just like, no, I'm actually doing a good thing, even if you show them
Yeah,
any sort of opposite studies or anything like that. It's just like, no, it's actually better. It's just like these fat cells need to know that they're fat. It's like, yeah, everyone knows that, like you don't have to, you're not actually helping.
yeah. Here's some information from the book. Fat people are seen as less trustworthy. They're more likely to be convicted of crimes independent of the details of the crime than someone who's thin. And yeah, people are less willing to date someone if they're
Well, of
overweight.
course, you're
I mean that,
criminals.
yeah, exactly. Oh, and she talks about they went to Seoul to research weight stigma because in Seoul, like in South Korea, they've got a really low obesity rate. However, people are very, very concerned about weight gain, and there's like a high amount of stigma.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, the people who, as people's income and education increased, they're more concerned with their weight,
I mean, that's
and the
true now
effects get
too, right?
worse.
Like, that's in
Yeah.
the US. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's a stigma, right? But like, it kind of seems that way that, like, poorer regions, it's more normal for overweight people to, and like a lower social economic classes, especially recently, right? Like the rich or like the upwardly mobile
Mm.
parts go to the gym, like really like to
Yeah.
get
They have
expensive
expensive.
but low calorie food,
Yeah. Yeah.
like we ate a salad bowl today, and I mean, that was like 400 calories for like 2,000 yen. It's like
Yeah.
probably like one of the
But
worst calorie
it's
per.
interesting because
Yeah.
so the areas we usually have lunch in, they're
Yeah.
the more expensive areas, but the food is really healthy.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to another area. I mean, Akihabara is not a poor area, but it's an area that's associated with like nerdy hobbies and things like that.
Yeah.
And the food there is absolutely awful. And it's just so interesting. You go to these different areas, and it's like every cafe or restaurant is kind of the same depending on the district.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In Ebisu, there's just tons of like healthy food options, salads, acai bowls, and so on, and like really lots of fruit, but it's incredibly expensive. And then you go to another area, and it's like all these ramen restaurants, and also in
I
Japan.
mean, I think it's also a gender thing to a
Yeah,
degree.
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. In Japan, like you go into a restaurant, and it'll be 90% women customers,
Yeah.
or it'll be like 90% men.
Yeah, very different like eating habits.
Yeah. And like in Korea, they have an extremely competitive labor market, and it's very
Yeah.
unstable, I guess, the jobs there. And so there's more emphasis on how you look. I think usually in Korea you have to have your photo attached to your resume. Is that correct? Do you know?
I don't know about Korea, but I mean, that is not uncommon in Germany either.
Oh, I feel like that is not allowed in some places, right? Isn't this?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's this thing. I mean, another aside, right? Like, there's the whole
How many asides are we
DEI.
gonna
You
have?
can get lots more insights from the Just Marries podcast and video show
No.
on my
No.
channel. But here
No.
we're getting an aside too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the DEI stuff, right? But
Mm.
then there's these studies when there isn't a photo attached, and when you don't know like the gender, or you don't know the
Yeah.
name, or in the US particularly, you don't know the race or whatever, like people judge it like fairly.
Yeah.
But when they don't, when they hear it, like they do basically anti DIY.
Yeah. Why?
Do it yourself.
Okay.
Do it yourself hiring.
Yeah. Do yourself racism and do it yourself.
It's like do it yourself government. That's what
I see.
Doge is.
Okay, this is we're really talking about my book.
Well, more insights from the Mary's
No,
podcast and video show.
Stop. Okay. Let me see. So basically, there's all these like programs that use stigma to try and get people to do things like wash their hands or not do drugs or whatever.
That's not working if I look in public toilets.
I know, it's so bad. Actually, I have a statistic for that one too. Yeah. Currently, 19% of people in the world wash their hands after going to the bathroom.
Okay.
In higher income countries,
that's quite high for like guys' toilets here, I would say.
oh god, that's just so horrendous. You should glare at them. You should glare
not my
at them.
problem.
No, it is. It is. It's no. This book is all about how it's actually everyone's problem.
It's another society.
No, it's everyone's problem.
I feel like you're advocating for me shaming them suddenly.
I think, okay, you're not a public health initiative. Okay, I think in this instance, shaming might work.
Oh, okay.
And actually, you know what? The problem is this book isn't about Japan. In Japan, it might work.
Yeah, maybe. How do they count like those people who like put 2 fingers under the water for like half a second? Do they count that as hand washing?
I mean, that's something to ask the researchers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important, right? Because during Corona, we learned that you have to sing happy birthday twice.
Yeah, I know. Okay. In higher income countries like Australia, the US, and the UK, the rate of people washing their hands was 50%.
Mm-hmm.
However, that means that those are places where people have access to soap and water. So even when people have that access everywhere, it's still only 50. And then on top of that, they have there's a study in the UK where healthcare workers were told they were being directly observed, but there was no mention about hand washing. And still, doctors wash their hands less than half as often as they should.
Mm-hmm.
And nurses and other allied workers did much better, 75%.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, it's probably, I'm just going to throw this out there, right? But it's probably those doctors find it demeaning to have to wash their hands.
Maybe.
They think they're too important.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there. Shaking my head, look.
Stop. It looks cute when you do that, though.
I agree that it looks cute.
That is so cute. Move your head back, because I think it looks cute when you're really small. Yeah. He's going away. Okay, stop.
Boo!
So another thing that is stigmatized is having like crooked teeth or dental issues. And the book is saying that in the US, having straight teeth is highly socially valued, which I mean, obviously it's kind of a stereotype.
Especially now with the veneers.
Yeah. It's kind of, I feel like it's becoming everywhere. You know, actually on Threads the other day, I saw a woman, she was posting like that she dyed her hair pink, and this woman was probably like 70 years old, and it was a really cute picture. She was like smiling, and she was showing before and after, and it got like a lot of views, and so many people were attacking her for her teeth and getting like just being really awful, and she was replying about it. And it's just like, now you're not even allowed to post a picture smiling on social media without people going absolutely bananas because your teeth aren't perfect. Like, come on. Anyways, the book is saying that having bad teeth, it's also like people don't just think that you, I don't know, that they have a lot of negative associations.
Like to think you're dangerous. You're gonna eat.
Oh, dangerous isn't one that comes up. No. They think of it as more like a moral feeling, like you don't take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe you had you were neglected as a child.
It's
maybe.
kind of weird you can think both of those things, right? It's
Yeah.
like either it's a moral failing or you were neglected as a child. It's like these seem like complete
Yeah, well, it doesn't
opposite.
matter. All that matters
Yeah,
is I hate you.
yeah,
That's it.
exactly.
Um,
Fix your teeth.
yeah. So also that it's taken to sometimes suggest low intelligence, mental illness, homelessness, and poverty.
Mm.
And this is another crazy fact, right? In this book, it says between 60 and 90% of school children globally have untreated cavities.
That's bad.
Yeah, yeah, really bad.
I've heard in the UK it's really gotten really bad, like for very young children, because there's so much sugar.
Oh, is that why they're doing all these and like these sugar, like they're trying to cut down on sugar in drinks?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it might also be
Yeah,
obesity related.
yeah, possibly. But here's where like this is kind of this book was like making me think about my own situation because one time when I was a kid, my dentist started scolding my mom for not taking me to the dentist often enough and saying my teeth weren't like in good state. And so she basically tried to shame my mom into making her take me to the dentist more often. And my mom just decided to never take me to the dentist again.
Mm.
And I was just thinking, oh, this is exactly like what the book is about. You know, how
Yeah,
she tried to shame her into doing something, and instead she's just like, okay,
completely backfired.
yeah, it completely backfired. And it meant that I had like, had a bunch of dental issues. And I mean, it's part of why I have the surgery and everything is that I didn't go to the dentist and no one, yeah, did anything for me as a kid. So that's a little aside again.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's like a lot of people are very counterproductive in getting their what they want
Yeah.
because they're kind of like angry or they're annoyed or whatever, and so
Mm,
they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna make you feel bad." It's like, but that's the opposite. Especially like if it's something they're doing already the thing that you want, just not enough. Like if
yeah.
you then make them feel bad about the thing
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
just
I
did.
mean, I don't think, but obviously both of the adults in the situation
Yeah.
were behaving badly. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. I mean, like people
So,
need to. I mean, the question is like just what do you do on a public scale?
oh yeah.
What is like the thing that? But in the UK, everything's so individualized, right?
I've been thinking about this because of my surgery, right? I really
Yeah.
think that there needs to be some kind of they need to go into schools and check children's teeth in the school, I think, right?
That makes sense.
Like maybe at a certain age, like age 9 or something like that, because that kind of gives you enough time to start fixing things. I think that if like if there could just be some kind of program where a dentist or orthodontist, like there has to be some kind of mandatory check, that would really help a lot. And it would prevent so much expense in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally, like you could do a lot more stuff through schools because, like,
Yeah.
ultimately, right, like the children should have rights too. You know, it's about like making sure that they have the best outcomes. Because, like, I feel like it's all often framed as like, well, what do the parents want? It's like, well, there's some things that who cares what the parents want? Like,
Yeah.
it's for the
Yeah.
children, it's for society, you know?
Yeah. And also, I mean, just often the parents won't know.
Or they won't even care, and
Yeah.
then, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't even get like free dentistry in a lot of places, you know,
Yeah.
in like rich countries.
Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I've learned because of my surgery, I've learned so much about dentistry and it's like a lot of healthcare systems across the world, they treat your teeth like they're an accessory or they're separate from the rest of your health.
Mm.
But really, a lot of the time, people have like some kind of health problem. It's connected to dental issues, and that's
Mm.
why these really long-term chronic health problems go undiagnosed for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they aren't checking the teeth and like this thing
Well, it
with
has.
cavities. They're saying that's the most common. Let me see how they describe it. Dental cavities are the most common chronic childhood disease, and then you think about probably wisdom teeth removal is the most common surgery, right? Because
One
yeah,
probably.
it has to be one of the most
Yeah.
common surgeries.
So does she give like Any indications of what should be done instead, or how it could be done?
So, in the case of obesity, it's things like making cities more walkable, having classrooms be more activity focused, providing healthier food options, and addressing poverty is the
That
main
makes
one.
sense.
But obviously, these things are just such huge structural changes.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another thing, right? This is so obvious when you think about it, but fat stigma makes people not want to go out in public to exercise. So
Yeah.
that's a
That's a
huge
huge
contributor. Yeah.
especially like gyms, like people, like overweight people are really afraid of going to gyms, I think.
Yeah. So it says if you feel people are judging you, you're less likely to want to go jogging in a park or swim in a pool or join some kind of sports team.
Makes sense.
And even when patients like after surgery, like to lose weight, even after substantial weight loss, they still aren't people who were
Are not as
overweight
likely
are not
to.
as likely, and they're more likely to feel uncomfortable.
I mean, that also makes sense, right? Like, I mean, if you never thought about it, why would you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah,
Like, it's going to stick with you. So, do you like the book?
Yeah. I thought it was very good. The one thing is that so there's a whole section on so it's called Lazy, Crazy, and Disgusting because it's like basically fat people are lazy and then mentally ill people are crazy and anyone who doesn't fit in, anyone who doesn't fit with like some standard of personal hygiene is disgusting, I guess. And the mental health chapter was just so bleak because it just felt like no matter they hadn't figured out a way to make it destigmatized. Like it just didn't seem possible. Especially for mental illnesses like schizophrenia. People just don't want to live near someone with schizophrenia. They don't want to associate. Yeah, it's just a huge problem.
Yeah. But that's also like people are not to blame for that, right? Like they can, no one chooses to be schizophrenic, right?
Yeah. I mean, I felt like the book needs to go into the economic aspect a lot
Yeah.
more because the real solutions for a lot of these issues,
It's communism.
it's well, it's very expensive, right? It's
Yeah.
like actually changing society a lot.
Yeah.
Like if you try and shame people into washing their hands, but they don't have access to clean water, it's ridiculous.
I mean,
How could
like,
that possibly work?
I feel like the first example is quite instructive, right? Like it was about like this tribe or whatever that used to like go to the toilet in a specific place near the village or something like that, right? And so now they didn't want them to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like the UN or whatever kind of thing, yeah. And so obviously now they could have built like sanitary facilities, like a toilet.
They
No,
did build some,
they did build some,
but not enough.
okay, so they could have built for everyone, right? Like
Yeah.
this is a thing that possibly can happen, right? Like, you know, rich countries could have done this, right? But they're like, well, that's expensive. What if we shame people into building their own toilets?
Yeah.
You know, and then they like they create this shame cycle, so everyone's ashamed, right? And so now obviously someone who's very rich can get a toilet, right? But then they explain like other people would basically like save up brick by brick just to be able to get a toilet, and other people are so poor that just like there's no chance they could ever have a toilet.
Yeah.
So they go somewhere else, or they go further away from the town and actually create like more problems.
Yeah, they could cause more like hygiene issues and things like that.
And I feel like this example alone like very much encapsulates like kind of her point. And you're like, oh yeah, this makes sense.
That's
Okay.
the book.
Recommendation.
Yeah, it's very good. I think that it's kind of like it's just a very long argument for treating people with compassion and trying to look at the bigger picture of things instead of just like shaming someone for what they're doing because there's usually a reason they're doing it.
So some woke garbage. What's the next book in this book club?
I'm reading this book called Killing Thatcher, which is about the assassination attempt.
Not woke shit, base shit.
Yeah, by the IRA in Brighton. It's all right. It's all right. It starts off well, but now it's kind of dragging in the middle.
It's just the history of what
because
happened.
now, okay, the assassination attempt has happened.
Yeah.
We all know it wasn't successful. She's
Yeah.
So
They didn't get her at all, even in the
yeah,
end.
yeah. R.I.P. Gone too late.
Yeah. Rest in piss.
Okay.
What? What?
Just the way you said that. Okay.
We are an anti-Thatcher podcast.
Yeah.
Just Mara's podcast and video show is also anti-Thatcher.
Yeah. So I thought this book was very, very good. I mean, made me think about a lot of things. Another thing is they have a small section on the stigma against sex work, and obviously that doesn't help with the STD rates and testing and those people trying to get like out of dangerous situations and so on. It also kind of makes the argument for why shame is just generally not good now, and she tries to say that shame may be effective in hunter-gatherer societies where, you know, if we're living in a very small community, but yeah, she seems to think that it's not useful in a broader scale.
Maybe. Depends on who it's useful for. Seems to have worked for the Catholic Church.
I mean, yeah, depends what your goal is, I guess.
Not if it's good public policy.
Yeah. But it just seems like what shame does is it makes people scared to speak out. It makes people scared to ask for help. Or and there's also she says that these researchers are wondering maybe online environments will be a safe space for people. I know. Immediately, like, hell no. This is your first day on the internet, you know? So she's saying, we wondered if online environments might be a safer space for people struggling with weight. Maybe they could help people try to lose weight without having to worry about what observers thought. They analyzed blogs because bloggers theoretically could have like a great deal of control over how they present themselves and their story to their audience. But instead, so that they analyzed a bunch of hundreds of blogs from 2014, 2015, and they found the results showed that people online are just as miserable, basically.
Oh, just as miserable, not more? Must be early internet.
Bloggers talked about their lack of discipline, their failure at self-control, failure to eat or exercise as they believe they should, and the few that embrace like body positivity or encourage self-acceptance became targets for trolling and that
makes sense.
And weight stigma, she says, weight stigma appears to be inescapable even when the body is invisible. And this was kind of what I thought growing up on the internet. I thought, like, finally this is a place where how I look won't matter. But that was wrong. That was completely wrong from the moment I used the internet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even in like really text-based communities, people want to see photos and they are making judgments over, it kind of, once you see a photo, it kind of colors your image of someone, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So that is the book, and I recommend it, I think.
Okay.
I mean, as an introduction to this topic, like public health.
How many out of 17 stars? Okay.
Okay, maybe I don't know how to sign off.
Facebook.
No, stop. You can't use your catchphrases on my channel.
What's your show called anyway?
No, wait. You should do this. Ooh, and then you move around like you're a little ghost.
I did it earlier.
No, do it again. Ooh. Okay. Now, as you're moving, you should move your head back and forth. Ooh. Okay, perfect. No, you're going way too close. I'm gonna be there.
Ooh, goodbye.
Oh my gosh.
See you never. Ooh.
Okay, that's enough. We can stop now.